The list of impressive looking Souls-like games on the horizon is long, with games like Phantom Blade Zero, Flintlock The Siege of Dawn, and Wukong Fallen Feathers all having solid showings this summer event season. But there's always been something extra special about Black Myth Wukong. It's stunningly gorgeous. The animations are incredibly fluid, it's steeped in rich Chinese culture, and there's just something immensely satisfying about playing as a Monkey King, beating up all sorts of mythical creatures with a...
The one thing I really like about this game and why I'm excited for it is when the original gameplay came out, one of the developers, the lead developers, he was embarrassed about the gameplay. He said it wasn't up to standard, it wasn't up to par. But everybody else thought it was great. That's when all the hype started for it. You were like, oh, you get to play as the Monkey King, and then it was like all these different transformations. I think the footage I saw, they were fighting like a giant bear, and they were just talking about just the details of the fire and the fur and just the movement, and all the different play styles. So I think it just really speaks to the quality and the time and effort and the care and love for the project. And when developers put that much time and energy into a project, you can tell, right? You can really, really tell. So I'm really excited for this game.
Giant extendable staff. While this isn't the first time IGN has gone hands-on with the game, it is my own personal first time with it, and after 2 hours of playtime with the opening chapter, I somehow walked away even more excited for its August 20th release. IGN China has already done an extensive preview on what Wukong plays like on a late game.
This is so good. Like I remember seeing, so from the original gameplay, I remember there was like ice battle, ice boss. You got an earth boss. You have different beasts. It just seems like so many elemental things. I remember like something in the clouds, right? Like him fighting people up in the sky, and I don't know. It just seems like they really thought about every little aspect. And I feel like when people start playing this game, I feel like it's going to be one of those games that people want to play through multiple times. And it's going to be a game that has so much like detail in it. Like every little bit of gameplay, every time you play it and every like second you play, you're going to discover something new. I really, really think it's going to be good.
Game build with many techniques, stances, and transformations already unlocked, which is great because my 2 hours covered pretty much the very start of the game. The first thing that I noticed as I started playing was how fluid and fast Wukong feels to control. Many Souls-likes are built on a foundation of slower and more methodical combat, but Wukong...
That's very true, right? So if you played any Souls games, you know that sometimes it can be a little clunky, right? But it's very slow paced. Right. Of course, you have some exceptions, but majority of them, they're very slow paced, and you don't feel like you can chain things together. Right. But yeah, just the gameplay from this. And they said different stances, different abilities, different transformations. So it's like it seems like you can approach stuff from different angles. And I think it's going to lend itself to doing multiple playthroughs.
Feels exceptionally quick and agile. From the beginning, there's actually no block button. Wukong can twirl his staff to block projectiles, but as far as melee attacks go, everything must be dodged. To that end, there's a Bayonetta-style dodge system where you can dodge up to 3 times very quickly, but after the third one, you're punished with a lengthy recovery time to try and curb people from just mindlessly mashing the dodge button. Perfectly timed dodges will reward you with extra focus, and once your focus bar has been filled, you get a focus point that allows you to chain a strong attack into your light combo string for a big chunk of damage. Later on, those focus points can also be spent on different types of special moves that
it's even like the camera, like look at the fire looks great.
You unlock in the skill.
This is what I saw when I originally saw the first gameplay. It was somebody fighting this bear. It could have been this one or like a giant panda. Probably was a giant panda, but I don't know, man.
Which we'll get to a bit later.
Quality of it just looks really good.
Also has access to a number of spells that consume his mana. I only really got to play around with the Immobilize spell, which, as you can imagine, stops an enemy in their tracks and allows you to sneak in a few hits before the spell's effect wears off. Stronger enemies, and especially bosses, are affected by the spell much less, and sometimes they were able to shrug it off entirely. Even at just an early stage, combat was a fun dance of actively looking for opportunities to avoid enemy attacks.
What the hell is that? Like, and what's so crazy about it? I know like all of this stuff, all these boss battles. I know it's some type of lore, right? It's some type of Chinese lore that if you wanted to, you can research, or they're gonna have some lore in the story that goes real deep into it. It's really dope.
And find openings, keeping an eye on my focus meter so that I can use a damaging heavy attack whenever I had the chance, while also managing my mana and cooldown for my immobilize spell. Eventually, I got my first transformation, which turns Wukong into an absolute beast, with much stronger attacks and a hugely damaging super attack that he can use out of a dodge if he manages to build up a focus point. One of his moves in this transformation is a lightning fast dash attack that made me feel like I had basically turned into the boss that I got the transformation from. Later on, I added another tool to my repertoire, the tower stance.
Okay, so you get the transformation from a boss. So you defeat him and then you can acquire his ability. That's really cool.
Which swapped out my chargeable overhead strong attack for the ability to stand on my staff and avoid damage on the ground as long as my stamina held out.
Oh, that's fire. Like so many people grew up watching Chinese movies where a lot of people and like animation and different cartoons where people had these abilities, like the extended staff. Like if you think about it, Goku had an extendable staff. Like all of that this just makes it so much more like
My staff and
it's
avoid
just
damage
cool
on
to
the
see
ground
in a
as
game
long as my stamina held out.
and see it
If I
done
managed
right.
to stay on the staff long enough for a focus point to charge, I could spend it to leap off the staff, flip it around, and come crashing down with a powerful strike that felt incredibly cool to pull off. These stances, along with my general combat abilities, could all be upgraded through a level up system that works a lot like Sekiro's. As you defeat enemies, you'll gain will, which builds up a bar in the top right of the screen. When the bar is full, you gain a spark, which can be used to purchase upgrades from one of your various skill trees. Once you fill the bar and bank a point, you can't lose it. You can even add that point wherever you want, not just at a shrine, which serves as Wukong's version of a bonfire-like checkpoint. However, if you die before you manage to fill the bar, a portion of that experience will be lost in typical Souls-like fashion. Don't let that trick you into thinking that Wukong is an easy game though, because it certainly is not. Enemies are aggressive, bosses are relentless.
That looks crazy, man. Like usually you see this like in cinematics, like in cutscenes. Like I mean, just like the fidelity and just how like good the fire looks. But that's like actual gameplay.
And even more so in their second phases, and you only have a scant few restorative potions to keep yourself alive. I also managed to find a secret boss room behind a waterfall that took me to a dragon boss that absolutely wrecked me. Fortunately, you can teleport from shrine to shrine, so you can come back to him much later down the road once you've upgraded your gear and add some more points into your skill trees. And speaking of gear, I didn't manage to find...
So is the game like an open world? To where you, they said you can come back. Right, so the first gameplay I remember, I think it was kind of linear. Like it was, whoever was playing was going down a path. And I think, yeah, it was actually, he transformed into like a moth or a flying, like a fly or something. And it was very linear. Like he had to go from point A to point B. But he said you can come back. So that makes me think, is it going to be kind of like Elder Scrolls where you can run around and you can do it in the order that you want? That'd be pretty cool.
Find all that much, but I did find enough to at least know that there are sets of armor that grant extra bonuses for wearing multiple pieces of gear from that set. The levels themselves were fairly linear with a couple of branching points that led to some sort of treasure or item.
Okay, so it is linear with some branchable points. It's pretty cool then.
Pickup. The real star of the show, though, were the boss battles. Even in just 2 hours, I fought against a wide variety of bosses. From a speedy wolf boss that I snagged my first transformation from, to a mule-kicking frog in human clothes,
that's crazy,
to an extremely difficult 2-phase battle against a snake man. All in all, I greatly enjoyed my time with Black Myth Wukong. Even in just 2 hours of playtime, I felt like I got to experience a lot of combat progression, and am excited to see how things will continue to evolve as the game goes on. We won't have to wait much longer to see how the full game shakes out, as Black Myth Wukong releases on PC and PlayStation 5 on August 20th.
Nice. Yeah, that's a cop. Check out this footage. So this is from 2023. chanting in the background when you cast a spell. Okay, so key items, herbs. Oh. Okay, so you probably can regularly pick up these herbs, but some of them they're attached to enemies. That's crazy. A cool detail to keep it interesting. Combos are crazy. Okay, so you have different wearables. Nice. What are these enemies? Really feel like I'm spoiling it for myself, so I'll just click ahead to see if there's anything different. Okay, this is a splinter transformation. Although stones. Okay, this seems like another transformation then. Okay. The boss. Oh, that's crazy. Put that boy in a blender. Woo! Oh, the music is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to play that. That's gonna be a day one cop. It's not too many games that come out that are like that, right? That detail the quality, the music, the sound, the visuals, the gameplay, the main character. Yeah, it looks like a great game, so I'm really looking forward to it.